Mayor Harvey Ward, how you doing?
Doing great, thanks. Thanks for coming in today.
Oh, you're welcome. How did you get into politics?
So I've been kind of around politics all my life, and spent a lot of time working in the nonprofit community in Gainesville, managing several nonprofits, and worked a lot on things like homeless services and that sort of thing. And that made me realize that I could I had more opportunity to do good um, being elected to local office than any nonprofit that I could work for. And that made me, I talked to folks about running for county commission in the 2014 election and got, uh, got a campaign together and ran and lost and learned a lot about what not to do in an election and how to do things differently and better. And when the opportunity came up in 2017 to run for city commission, I took advantage of that, and we did a lot better that time.
Now, when you was working with the nonprofit organizations, was that more like a noble experience?
So it was a great experience. I always enjoyed it. I've been professionally working with nonprofits since 2001, and prior to that, had been on a whole long list of nonprofit boards and things most of my professional career, and always enjoyed that. It was really good, but I also very much enjoy public service.
Now, you was the city commissioner from 2017 up until the beginning of this year.
Correct.
Now, as the commissioner, like what was your day-to-day duties?
So yeah, there are four city commission districts, and I was elected in and responsible for District Two, which back then was a little bit of Northeast Gainesville, but mostly Northwest Gainesville. And the day to day responsibilities involve meeting with a whole lot of constituents, a lot of people in the district and other parts of the city, both here at City Hall and out on site wherever they needed to meet. I try to make myself available and bringing their concerns and ideas and thoughts to the rest of the seven-member commission at our regular meetings, and trying to make sure that the things they needed and things that I saw in the community that needed attention got attention as from the city commission.
Now, as the commissioner, like what was a few of those things that you gave your attention to?
So one of the things that we did that I'm real proud of is we were able to take 700, I want to say 711 acres um, in Northwest Gainesville and put it into conservation, permanent conservation. It's now called Four Creeks Preserve, and we were able to work with Alachua County to partner and put those 700 acres, 711, however much it was, into permanent conservation. That's the area north of Northwood and south of Turkey Creek Forest between 441 and 43rd Street. So it's a great big chunk of Northwest Gainesville that is in permanent conservation. I've never been built on, never will be built on for the foreseeable future. So that's something that I really appreciated doing. We spent a lot of time as a district commissioner. I spent a lot of time working in Pine Ridge, which is a neighborhood in District 2, just south of the Walmart on 34th Street, um, that has really just not had a lot of success and a lot of hope over the years, trying to get a better quality of life for the folks who live in Pine Ridge. We were I've walked it, I don't know how many times, with people who live there, uh, with with police, with codes enforcement folks. Again, trying to find ways that we can make that a more hopeful neighborhood and a place that people can be better in. And honestly, I mean, it's hard to know how much real success we have, but I do know that fewer people are being shot and killed in Pine Ridge than used to happen, which is a pretty low bar, but at least that much improvement has happened. And I made relationships with folks who live in Pine Ridge, and that's important to me as well. Um, as a, Over my time as a city commissioner, in that 5.5 years or so, we were able to implement a thing where the city has a program to help families who are stuck in an heirs property situation, where we can help them get legal help to clear up their heirs property, clear title issues. And I'm real proud of being able to do that. Last I checked, a couple months ago, we had helped about 30 families in that process, and I'm very proud of that. We spent a lot of time working on a thing called the My Neighborhood program, which helps families in traditional neighborhoods, um, people who have moved out of those neighborhoods, recruit them to move back into the neighborhood and reinvest in it, and give them some city funds to reinvest in their former neighborhoods. So My Neighborhoods is something I'm real proud of being able to be involved in. Um, Yesterday was Veterans Day, so it's a good time to talk about this. I was able to work with the rest of the commission on behalf of the Vets for Peace organization and turn a stretch of 8th Avenue into what we call now Memorial Mile, from the bottom of the hill on 8th Avenue all the way out to 34th Street. It's almost exactly a mile. That again, it's we've made it Memorial Mile, and it's there to honor folks who served in the U.S. military and and lost their lives as part of that service, particularly in Afghanistan and Iraq. And so I'm very proud of those things. We were able to implement the free fare system. I fought for that from 2018 until we finally got it done in 21 or 22. I think it may have been fiscal year 22. So anybody over 65 and over, anybody under 18 can ride the RTS system without worrying about paying a fare. There are a lot of folks who already don't pay a fare because they work for UF or Santa Fe, or they work for the city or the county, and a variety of other things. But as of when we implemented that, if you were a senior in our community or somebody still in school under 18, there's no fare for you. So those are some of the things that I feel real good about being able to get accomplished as a commissioner.
Now, as far as the neighborhood of Pine Ridge, what do you think is a couple more things that can further improve that community?
So one of the things that would really help Pine Ridge is better access to transit. The way that neighborhood was built, there's a wall to the north of it, and on the other side of the wall is Walmart. People would love to be able to go to Walmart because Walmart has all the things folks need. But to do that, they have to go around. They have to go out to 34th Street and then up and back around to Walmart. So it ends up being almost a mile, when if there were a gate in the wall, it would be less than a quarter of a mile to walk to Walmart. So that's a thing that I'm still trying to work on and get done. The other thing is, across the street on the east side of 34th Street is Northside Park and the Alachua County Senior Center, which are tremendous resources. But you got to be able to cross 34th Street from Pine Ridge to get there. And 34th Street is managed by the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, and they don't want to build a crosswalk. Nobody wants to take their life in their hands and try to cross 34th Street, nor should they, without a crosswalk. So again, it's a long walk to get a short distance to this really wonderful community asset. So folks just don't take advantage of it. If we could offer some shorter routes, some shorter bus routes that you could catch in Pine Ridge on demand, just to get across the street, would change a lot of people's lives. To be able to access all the programs at Northside Park and the Senior Center, to be able to access shopping at Walmart, and to then be able to catch the bigger bus routes that are at a hub in the Walmart parking lot. Those things would change people's lives, I believe, in Pine Ridge, and we're still working on trying to get those things done.
Now, do you think they should have an office out there for, the community neighborhood of Pine Ridge?
Who should have an office?
Like Pine Ridge, like whoever owns the apartments, like it should be like an
Gotcha.
office.
So the problem with that, and this is not something the city can really do anything with, is that until recently, so every unit there is actually a condominium. There, it's not a traditional apartment setup. So it's owned by, one time I counted 50 or 60 different owners who all rent their condos out in Pine Ridge, and some of them own 15 or 20 units, and some own 1 or 2 units. So it's hard to have, it's impossible to have one office that's responsible for all of it, because there are dozens of people and organizations, corporations who own the units there. So you'd have to get all of them to agree to that one office being in charge of everything, and that's not how it's designed right now. So I think it would be great if that were possible, but it's not, the city can't force that upon them.
Now, as mayor, you were elected mayor back in January this year.
Yeah, right. I was installed as mayor, sworn in as mayor, and on January 5th was elected in November. Yeah.
Now, being the mayor of the city of Gainesville, what type of responsibility do you take on, being, having the responsibility of running the city?
So the mayor doesn't specifically run the city, but I'm responsible for it because everybody thinks that the mayor runs the city. Um, I feel tremendous responsibility for everything that city government is supposed to do for our community, and I happily take that responsibility on. But the deal is that I am one of 7 people on the Gainesville City Commission. I have 1 vote, but I do have a bigger role than the other commissioners do, partially because I'm at large elected, like 2 other at large commissioners, but also because it's my responsibility to run the meetings, to make appointments to the various committees of the commission, and to generally be the organizing principle behind the commission and the things that we do as a city. Our system is what they call a council manager system. So we give the responsibility of actually running the day-to-day operations of the city to a city manager and to 5 other charter officers, people that work directly for the Gainesville City Commission and me. And those 6 charter officers, the city manager, the GRU general manager, the city clerk, the city auditor, the city attorney, and the director of equity and inclusion, they all work directly for the city commission, and then they go manage the 2,400 people who work for the city. Most of those people, about 1,400 or so, work directly for the city manager. But again, the city manager interfaces with us as city commissioners and mayor, and then they go manage all that. But most folks understand that the mayor is responsible. So I'm happy to be responsible, even though I can't really direct. I don't day-to-day manage the folks who make the city run. But I'm happy to accept that responsibility, and because somebody has to.
Now, as the mayor, like, what are your usual day-to-day responsibilities?
I spend a lot of time in meetings, and I meet. For instance, this morning I spent an hour with our charter officers going over the agenda for this week's meeting and making sure that I have all the information I need to be able to run the meeting correctly and make sure that the agenda is set up properly. And before that, I spent some time talking with some concerned citizens, 2 different meetings with concerned citizens prior to that. After that, I met with a gentleman who runs CDS, which is formerly known as Corner Drugstore, which is an operation that works through juvenile justice and helps at-risk young people have a better life. So we were talking about a new facility they're building and how the city might be able to be supportive of that. Had a scheduled meeting with one of the county commissioners to talk about some things that they're working on and let him know some of the things we're working on. Then I've had 2 or 3 meetings with the city manager, meeting with you now. Later today, I'll have a meeting over at GRU to celebrate our a water conservation project that was very successful. And then after that, this evening, I've got a Zoom meeting for community leaders about gun violence. And in between, I'll answer a whole lot of phone calls and emails from people that I'm working with on a variety of projects and concerned citizens. I try to get back with people as quickly as possible when they call or email. Some of that I'm able to do through Betsy Byrne, who's my executive assistant, but a lot of it I end up managing directly. I generally spend between days like I've described here and full commission meetings and other committee meetings and things that I'm a part of, I generally spend about 60 hours a week on the job. Some weeks it's closer to 80. Some weeks I skate by on 35 or 40, but generally speaking, it's right about 60 hours a week. Again, between things like we're doing right now and the way I described today and our full commission meetings. Our full commission meetings start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we take a couple of breaks, but they go till sometimes 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So that takes a big chunk out of the week too.
Now, how can we improve the homelessness around the city of Gainesville?
Gosh, if I could tell you exactly how to do that, we'd be very popular folks. We'd go around and give that solution to every other city in America, because it is a national issue. We're certainly fighting every way we can to improve it in Gainesville. A lot of it just comes down to money. We know what works to help people get a place to live and to get the services that they need, because often it's not just about having a place to live, it's about having some support services that make it possible to live. And most of that really just comes down to money, and we don't always have enough money to make that happen. A lot of folks in the community want to be helpful, but the way they want to be helpful is by volunteering. And often it really isn't about volunteering. It's about being able to afford helping people get a place to live and the services that they need. So what we can do is recognize that we are all in this together, and that it's about more than just the city of Gainesville and Grace Marketplace and the other organizations that deliver services. It's got to be the city of Gainesville and Alachua County and the Chamber of Commerce and the University of Florida and Santa Fe College and School Board of Alachua County, all those institutions working together to help people. Because if we expect that the city of Gainesville and Grace Marketplace are going to do it on our own, we're going to be very disappointed, because we just don't have the resources to do that as those two organizations. All of us working together do have the resources, and that's what I would like for people to understand about how we can help make homelessness not a thing anymore in our community. Everybody's got to work together on it.
Now, how can we lower the crime here in the city? Like the shootings and everything.
So unfortunately, that is also a problem that is national. We see it in every city. And it doesn't matter that it's national. We have to have solutions right here in Gainesville. And part of our problem with gun violence is that we're not allowed, the state of Florida doesn't allow municipalities, cities, to make any rules about guns. So we just have to, in many cases, just sort of hope for the best and help people understand that a gun is not the right way to solve a problem. We had an issue a week or so ago where it seems as if, and we don't know all the details, but it seems as if two people were having an argument about their relationship in a car, and one of them shot the other one 3 times. Now, that isn't something that, other than trying to make sure that the guns are not part of the problem, I don't know how the city makes that situation not happen. Because people often are going to argue passionately about things, and if a gun gets involved, too often somebody dies. So that's part of our gun violence problem. Another part directly relates to gangs that are not just Gainesville things, that are bigger than us. And a way that we can do that better is by being more of a leader in law enforcement resources. And to that end, we're planning a gun violence summit later this summer to bring in other elected officials from other parts of North Florida so that we can all work together, other law enforcement agencies from around North Florida, as well as folks in our communities dealing with this on a daily basis, so that we can all hear from each other and know how we can help. We're doing everything we can, but we recognize that there's more that we have to do. I wish that I had a great answer for you, but again, if I did, President Biden would probably hire us to go implement that everywhere. So we're going to keep looking for solutions. And you can see up here on my board, I've got these hash marks for the number of people who have been killed with guns in our community this year. And I feel very responsible for that whenever somebody is killed in our community. And we're going to keep working until we can find solutions.
Now, would you someday want to run for president of the United States?
Absolutely not. I like being mayor of Gainesville, and I'm at a point in my life where I feel like I have something I can offer to the job and to my neighbors here, and I really enjoy this work and hope to be able to do a good job of it through the end of this term in 2026, and then we'll see what happens after that about another term. But,
So, would you say you're more satisfied with your position in politics that you already have?
I love this job. I enjoy being able to give back to my city and to help make it a better place for the other folks who live here.
Now, in the words of Donald Trump, making America great again, would you say that America is already great again?
I believe America's a pretty great place. I believe that America has a lot of work that we need to do on ourselves. We've got a lot of things that are absolutely wonderful about our nation, and I'm proud to be a part of what we do here. But there's a whole lot of work that we need to do, and I don't think it's a bad thing to say we're good. We do a lot of things well, but we have these issues that we need to help each other solve. Mr. Trump and I probably wouldn't agree on too many things, but I think that America and Florida and Gainesville have a lot of really great things going on, but I don't think we should ever be ashamed to say there's a lot we need to work on too.
Now, you grew up here in Gainesville.
That's correct.
So, what was it like growing up here in the city of Gainesville?
Yeah, for me, it was a great place to grow up. I grew up out east, as folks call it now. I was when I was first born, we lived just east of Northeast 15th Street on University Avenue, and moved out to near the Copeland area, not too far from Noonan's Lake. I went to Howard Bishop Middle School, Eastside High School. It's home for me, and so it was a good place to grow up. But I recognized that we had a lot of things that we needed to do better with. When I was born, Gainesville had 60 to 70,000 people here, so it's a very different city than this city of 145,000 people that we have now. And with that comes lots of different things that we have to work on. I also know that, when I was growing up in the 70s, while Gainesville was great for me, it wasn't great for a whole lot of our neighbors. And we owe everybody a great city. It can't just be good for one kind of people. It needs to be good for everybody. And we've made a lot of progress, but there's a whole lot of progress we still need to make.
Now, Gainesville and Alachua is pretty close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, instead of, one being Gainesville, one being Alachua, would you think it's a good idea just to make both towns like one whole thing? Like all of it just be Gainesville instead of one Alachua and one Gainesville?
So I don't think people in Alachua would be too fond of that. And I mean, they've got their own identity as a city. And I think that's great. We know what we want to work on here in Gainesville, and we do things the way a city of 145,000 people should do things. The city of Alachua has about 10,000 people, so it's about 1/14 the size of Gainesville, number of people wise. City of Newberry has about 7,000 people, um, and again they have different characters as a city, and I want to be able to support them and share resources for them where we can, but recognizing that we're very different places. Um, I think there are neighborhoods surrounding the city of Gainesville that are in unincorporated Alachua County that I think could benefit from being part of Gainesville. And I think those are conversations we ought to have as the years go on. But I think the city of Alachua probably is very happy being the city of Alachua.
Now, see, I'm from Alachua,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody don't have cars. So, would it be someday that it could be a bus that comes from Gainesville to Alachua back to Gainesville for those who don't have cars?
I'd be happy to support that, but I will say that bus routes are not inexpensive. You know, it costs a bunch of money to do that. I would be happy to work with Alachua County and with the city of Alachua to provide that. You know, the city of Gainesville runs the regional transit system, runs the bus system. Um, we would be very happy to share some resources, but because it does cost money, um, Alachua County and the city of Alachua would have to help out with that.
Now, you're a husband and a father.
Right.
So, how do you separate the two?
My home life and my work life.
Like being a father and also being a husband.
Well, you know, I mean, when you have little kids in the house, and my kids are growing up, they're not so little anymore. Um, you have to give up some of your space and your time um, for the kids, and that is a challenge for every family I know. But as kids grow up, you know, you get to reacquaint yourself with your spouse, and that's a good thing too. You know, I mean, I had a daughter graduate from high school this past weekend, and she's going to be moving out of the house before long, and that gives me and my wife more chance to spend time together as we, you know, end our not end, but as we're at the, you know, in the last phases of our careers. Probably we get to work together on building what retirement will look like together when our children have moved on. So, you know, when you have kids in the house, you got to give up some time and space for them, but you can always, you know, plan for what's next together.
Now, I've never been married. Now, does it take work to maintain a marriage?
Absolutely, I think successful marriages are not always just happy fun time. You know, there's a lot of joy in a marriage, or there should be, but there also has to be work to make sure that you take care of each other, that you spend time, that you carve out time in busy schedules to be with each other and respect each other and honor each other. And I think if you don't do that, then you find yourself by yourself. I think you have to remember that you have to work on your marriage the same way that you work on any other relationship or job or anything else. You have to put time into it and and part of yourself into it to keep it healthy and strong.
Now, would you say the time that you put into marriage or anything else would be also be the same time that you would get out of it?
I think you get more out of it than you put into it. But if you don't dedicate yourself to having a successful marriage, if you don't dedicate time to your spouse, who hopefully is somebody that you care about and want to spend time with anyway, but if you don't, my experience has been if you don't dedicate that time and you don't make sure that you do it, um, you're likely going to experience problems. But I'm lucky enough to enjoy that time, so it doesn't feel like work, but you have to make sure that you do it.
Okay, well, Mel Ward, thanks for your time and thanks for the interview.
Absolutely, thank you. I appreciate you coming in.
All right.